Hello, my name is Craig Rainey, and I've been in the construction industry for more than 40 years. When homeowners tell me the story of their project, oftentimes it sounds like this. It doesn't have to be that way.
Oh, wise guy, eh?
And most builders would say that. Welcome to Remodeling Wisdom. I'm Craig Rainey. Let's get started. I think a lot of us as homeowners, we try to find the best builder that we can, of course. But I think that some of the places we go, we put our faith into the vetting of those folks by whomever is providing the lead service in this case, whether it's Thumbtack, Home Advisor, Angi's List. It's now Angi. In these kind of places, we look for 5-star reviews when we're looking online, or Google, or Houz, or anywhere else we're looking for, and looking for trades and looking for builders. But I have some insight on this that you might find interesting. I don't know that it's really going to help you in your search, but I think if you add this to the knowledge that I try to share with you in every episode, I think you'll find that this is going to be a good addition and something that's going to make you a bit more, I would say, worldly. When you speak to your prospective builder, your prospective remodeler next time, you're going to have a little more insight, a little more understanding of how the industry works. And that's what we're going to do today. And I think it may surprise you what I'm going to share with you today. It surprises me, and I find it a little disturbing that this goes on, but I don't think that it's exclusive to the construction business. I believe that there's a lot of this sort of thing that goes on through, pretty much any pursuit and any business that somebody's going to get involved in. But before we get started, first off, let me thank you for spending a moment with me. And there are a lot of remodeling podcasts and broadcasts you can listen to, and I really appreciate that you selected me for these few minutes. And this isn't going to be a long one. I just was encouraged to record this one because this is something that happened to me recently, as it so often does, because those of you who follow me know that I'm actually running a remodeling company, and we're busy like everybody else is in the Austin area. But anyway, I would like for you, if you would, depending on the platform you're on, hit the like, follow, or subscribe button. And that way you'll know when we have new episodes. And I try to put an episode out, 1 or 2 a month. I don't try to bombard you. I feel like if I'm going to give you information and share this with you, it should be important. It's not just word count and filling up space. I don't want to do that. So hopefully you'll find that. If you have comments, most platforms do not allow you to comment directly to me. If you want to get hold of me, either with your questions or comments, and I love both those, I would encourage it, contact me at craig@craigrainey.com. That's my direct email. I get a lot of emails, and as you may or may not know, I use some of those emails to actually create episodes, and rather than just answer the email directly, I'll address it. And so many of us, everyone can capitalize on that and benefit from that answer. Anyway, for those of you who are more partial to the written word as opposed to the spoken word, I do have a blog site. It's called Remodeling Wisdom Advice from the Pro. Easiest way to find that is to go to either, and there are several URLs that'll get you there. You can look for Remodeling Wisdom Advice from the Pro. The podcast will come up. But if you go to craigsbuilderblog.com, texasbuilderblog.com, or atxbuilderblog.com, any of those, just go to texasbuilderblog.com. That's me. It'll take you right there. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. I, like many remodelers, my company is on Angi, and I've been in the remodeling and building business for many, many years, and so I'm very familiar with the way that these search engines work. And each one of these is a search engine, and what it is you're looking for a builder, and so what they'll do is this service will match you up with the best choice and most appropriate contractor for what you're looking for. And so that's what they do. From the builder's point of view, it's somebody who is a tradesperson or a remodeler or contractor that's getting on here. We pay for each one of these names we get. each one of these leads, we pay for it. The average cost is between, it's gone up a little, between $100 and $200 each. So when somebody calls you, let's say that you put that free ad out on Angi or Thumbtack or Houz or wherever else, then what happens is that comes to the appropriate builder. A lot of times you'll request a particular builder, or sometimes they'll just send 3 or 4 to you that they feel match your criteria. So each one of those paid between $100 to $200 to get your number and to call you. From the builder's point of view, a lot of times if you don't get an answer, it's like, man, that's $200 just flushed down the commode. Nobody's calling me back, that kind of thing. And that's one of those things, as my dad used to say, you pay your nickel and you take your chance. But anyway, being on there, and I being somebody who has a company that's on there, forgive me, I'm only half English speaking today, but as a company that's on there, I do occasionally turn my leads on, and I will generate some new clients out of that kind of thing. Well, one of the leads that I called, and this gentleman was looking for a remodeler. And I went, okay, fool, that's what I do. I do large scope remodels. I don't do a lot of just kitchens and baths standalone. I really don't. I do more technical, something that calls my expertise, my experience into play. It makes me more valuable and I'm more of a benefit to my clients. So it's worth the money they're going to pay me to hire me. So anyway, in this particular one, I was talking to a gentleman, and we started talking about his project. He goes, yeah, I've got a set of blueprints, and I can email those over to you. And this isn't really for me. This is for a friend of mine's son and daughter-in-law. And I went, okay. And he said, the reason this friend of mine brought me in is because I'm older now. I'm retired, but semi-retired. He says, I used to be a remodeling expert. I was a remodeler and for 15 years, and that's what I did. And it's just with COVID and everything, I've kind of gotten away from it. And so, my trades, I don't really have them. And, and I said, okay. And he says, but these kids, their father, this friend of mine, he is a master builder. I said, a master builder? I said, okay. And so we started talking about some of the specifics of his build. And he really didn't seem to know that much technically about it. I asked him, I said, so, what's the foundation on this? He said, well, it's concrete. I said, so are we going to be attaching concrete to it, or is this addition, how many square feet is it? He didn't really know. I just asked him some questions that, builder to builder, and we have a language that we speak. If I'm speaking to a tradesperson or a builder, we speak a language that I don't speak to with my clients. And it's sometimes it's shorthand, sometimes it's technical. There are different variations of it, but this gentleman didn't really seem to understand what I was talking about. And so I got a little curious, and I said, well, let's talk about him. And I said, well, you said you're in the remodeling business for 15 years. Where was that? He said, well, I was in the Houston area. I said, okay. I said, yeah, beautiful area. I did some work out there. And I said, so you said you were in 15 years. So what's your background? Are you a tradesperson? Or he goes, oh, no. No, I'm not one of those guys. I'm a banker. I was doing finance, and I decided at one point to get in the remodeling business, and that's what I did for 15 years. I said, okay. And I said, man, that's quite a jump from being a banker going into remodeling. He said, yeah, but, it's not a complex business. He says, if you have good trades, you're going to do well in it. And really the reason I'm talking to you right now, Craig, is because I don't have up-to-date trades. Because after COVID, 3 or 4 years ago, those guys, they've gone different directions. Some are out of business, some are still around. But anyway, so I'm really looking for somebody that's got those contacts. I said, all right. And I said, so, I have one more question for you. And he says, all right. And I said, so the people that we're doing this for, these are a friend of yours, children, son and daughter-in-law. He goes, yeah. And I said, so this guy, you say he's a master builder. What is a master builder? I guess I don't understand the term. And I said, the reason I'm asking this is I'm just curious why we have a master builder and we have a remodeling professional, and you're out looking for remodelers to remodel this house. I was just wondering what my role would be in this relationship. Well, at this point, I started I could almost feel the short hair standing up on his neck. And as you might can tell, I'm pretty straightforward when I'm talking to people, but I don't want to waste their time. I certainly don't want to waste my client's time. And I'd like to get some, things clear, make sure that it's a fit. Anyway, so he told me, well, a master builder is someone who, in this case, he was one of the biggest home builders in the Houston area, and that made him a master builder. I said, so he was building tract homes. And he goes, well, I mean, he built subdivisions. I said, yeah, that's tract homes. Yeah, I got you. He was new home construction. He goes, yeah. I said, yeah, there's a place for that, absolutely. And I said, so is he part of the reason you got into the remodeling business? He goes, he's absolutely the reason I got in, because he was doing the new home construction. He was getting calls about remodeling. He said, hey, why don't you jump in the remodel business? I can help you get going, and we'll do this and everything else. And I go, okay, well, that makes sense. And I said, okay, so you had said something to me earlier that you said, as long as you have good trades, you can do that. And, that you could do the business. And I said, so really, is that what I'm going to be providing for you, is labor and material providers, that kind of thing? And he said, well, I guess I could use some help managing it. And I said, okay. And I said, your management skills. And at this point, I'm brooming this guy. Okay, just so you know, I'm brooming him. He's done. This is not going to be a fit. We got way too many cooks in the kitchen. I got a banker who jumped in the remodeling business who knows nothing about it. If you've listened to some of my other podcasts, never, ever, this is cardinal rule number 1, never, ever let your trades manage your job. And basically he's saying, well, as long as I got trades, I can do the job. And I disagree completely. I've got a job going right now in which I've had to guide my plumber, electrician, HVAC contractors, and these are licensed trades. I've had to guide them on how I want things done and how it needs to be done in representation of my client. So when I have a former banker telling me that he's a remodeling expert, well, he's not a remodeling expert. And the reason I say that is because there are so many moving parts to a remodel, it's very technical, that a banker is not going to be able to learn that in 15 years, especially if he or she is not out there driving nails and actually working on the job. And as far as master builders, I used to be a framing subcontractor, one of the biggest in the San Antonio area. I had between 42 and 58 men working for me at one point, and we framed everything. And I didn't do tract homes. I did nothing but custom and light commercial. But the thing is, I've got a lot of experience in it. And so when I was speaking to this gentleman, as I mentioned earlier, and he didn't know the technical terms, and then he's telling me that basically he was a banker, loan officer, or whatever it may be, and jumped in the remodeling business. And now everything I'm telling him is followed by, well, and I know this, and yeah, you're not telling me anything I don't already know. At that point, I'm saying, okay, so what were your clients like? Why were you only, and I didn't ask him this. This is just you and me talking. Okay. Why did the guy only last 15 years? Why is he going after a general contractor just to use his trades? Well, what is the point of this? The point of this is this. Even he knows that most remodeling contractors don't know anything. He knows it implicitly because he's one of those guys. A master builder in the tract home business is a business person. It is somebody who is a developer. They handle the money. They don't know anything about the production. They have production staff that does all that. In the room, and by the way, there is a place for that. There is definitely a place for that, and it's a value in that industry. And the new home construction industry, particularly tract homes and production building, is a completely different animal than remodeling. Now, let me explain this. And I want y'all to hear this because I'm on your side in this thing. If a new build construction contractor goes into remodeling, they don't know what they are doing because they don't know how to take apart and build. And the big thing is you as the client, you're going to be so uncomfortable in your house while it's being remodeled. A good remodeler knows how to work this where you have the least amount of discomfort, the least amount of frustration. Their communication style and the way that they run the jobs and they schedule the scope of work is such that it puts you first. In the new construction business, you don't have a client in there. You don't have to worry about turning off the power and they lose their electricity and they lose their AC and everything else, and so they can't live in the house for 3 or 4 days. They don't worry about that because they don't have anybody in there. They're just building, and their speed is what they do. My job as a remodeling contractor is to protect your money and your project. But also, as I've mentioned before, my job as a remodeling contractor is to make sure that the job goes as quickly as it can and as painlessly as it can for you, because unlike the new build, the remodeling has a human component, a comfort component. I just replaced the carpet in my house, all the upstairs carpet. I replaced it all. So what I did is I had my demo crew, and I did this myself. I had my demo crew pull all my carpet out. And I pulled all the base trim out, and I replaced this colonial trim with a dimensional updated trim. I replaced some doors. And also, because my house at one point was a luxury attract home, there was a lot of bad construction practices that went into it, and I had squeaky floors up there. So I took my screw gun and I shot down the stairs. I shot down plywood. I replaced material up on the deck that was not nailed to anything. It was just bad. I've never seen anybody do a subfloor the way this one was done. And so I got that done, and then I brought my carpet installer in, and my carpet installer installed, well, my painters first. Painters came in, and they prepped and painted everything, all the trim and everything, and then I brought my carpet installers in. My wife and I were out of our house for 2 weeks. Well, we were in our house, but we were out of carpet. We were in a construction zone for 2 weeks, and it was horrible. It was miserable. She went downstairs and slept several times, being my wife, because she just couldn't take it. We had plywood floors, and everything was a little dirty. You go to bed, you better wipe your feet off before you get in the sheets. There are just a lot of things. So from a client point of view, which I'm aware of it, but I got a taste of it, I just thought, man, I've got a client right now that's been in construction for 6 months. It's a giant room addition. Now, we haven't cut into his house. We did 2 days ago. We actually cut into the house because the job is done. So we did that. But this remodel has been underway for 6 months. A lot of it was we're waiting on the city. There were some changes that went on, different things. But the thing about it is, this family has been living in a construction zone for 6 months. Now, keep this in mind. It's all outside. That room addition, they couldn't access that room addition from the inside of their house. We didn't break out the exterior wall until we finished it, and it was air conditioned. At that point, we let them in. But even they were complaining about how invasive it is and how inconvenient it was. They couldn't go out and barbecue because there's lumber stacked up in their backyard. It's so invasive. So the reason I say this is, you're a remodeling contractor. What you need from them is, you need a lot of empathy and understanding of what the process is going to be impactfully upon you, the client. And you need to have somebody that does that. I think there are a lot of things. A remodel, as I've mentioned in another episode, is very technical. But the components that go into it are not just material, labor, and technique of how it goes together. It's also the psychology of how it's going to affect you. For instance, if you're going to remodel your kitchen, you better not demo that kitchen and disable that kitchen until the cabinets are on premises, until your tile is there, your floor tile, you've got all your lighting and plumbing fixtures, and you've got your appliances. Everything needs to be there before it's ever demoed, because the process of a kitchen is, once all your material is there and you have selected your countertops and those slabs are purchased and they're there at the fabricator just waiting for you to install cabinets so they can do their template and cut it, is you've got new electrical that's going to go in. You've got new plumbing that's going to go in. You've got to demo out everything that's in there, and so you're going to tear up sheetrock. You've got backsplash. So I put Hardy Backer behind my backsplash. I don't put it on sheetrock. There are just a lot of things that go into this, and so that could be somebody would be out of their kitchen. Ideally, best case scenario is about 2 weeks. You take a week of doing the trades and everything else, get your sheetrock and your wallboard put back up in your Hardy. You throw the paint on, and then boom, you're installing cabinets. And then after that time, it takes usually about, with my fabricators, 3 to 5 days for them to get the countertops installed. Once that's done, my trades trim out, we're done. And so as I said, 2 weeks would be a great time, and I achieve that usually. But it's difficult. So, there are things that you have to know on the remodeling side where these things get done. And as I mentioned, this guy, and I'm not here to victimize this man. I just went face to face with somebody I talk about all the time. I went face to face with a remodeler who was a banker, decided to get into the remodeling business because he thought there was a good income there. And it didn't take him but 15 years to get drummed out of it. And I'm sure I know why. Because when you allow your trades to manage your job and you don't know the technical part, you don't know whether they're doing the right thing or they're not. And then so you have to hire management staff, and they cost you money, and then they may or may not be good at it. You just have to know that when you're in an industry like this, you have to, as a remodeling contractor, you would better know a lot. You would better have a very vast experience base and understanding and education base on what you do. So whenever you're on one of these search engines and you're trying to find yourself a general contractor to do some remodeling for you. I want you to remember this conversation, this episode. And the reason for it is because there were two remodeling contractors talking in that conversation. There was one who was a banker who lasted 15 years and got into it because there was money, and the master builder said, hey, man, we can expand on this and make some of that extra money, and that's what he did. I guarantee you there were some really, really dissatisfied clients, and that's the reason he lasted only 15 years. And then you got another contractor. You got the one that is a complete, absolute authority on everything that's going to go on and puts his clients and their project first. That's who you want to select. So when you do interview your contractor, they're not going to answer, well, were you a banker and you came into this, or are you an expert with a vast experience? They're going to tell you they're an expert with a vast experience. You want to listen to what they say. You want to say, well, you've been in business 15 years. What'd you do before? Well, I was in finance, or, I was a salesman, or I was working for Dell and they laid me off, whatever it may be. Because understand that the trades cannot manage this job. They can do their part, but they don't care how long you're out of your house. It doesn't matter to that plumber, electrician, painter, carpenter. They don't care how long you're in or out of your house. They want to get paid on Friday so they can handle their payroll. I'm not always very positive, and I apologize for that, but this information is so important. And let me just relate to you in this way. Every client, every potential customer for a remodeler does a ton of due diligence. You get on these search engines, Angi, Thumbtack, Home Advisor, whatever it may be. The reason you do that is because you're trying to protect your money from the crooks that are out there, and from the people that may not be crooks. They just don't know what they're doing, and they're gonna take your money. You want to avoid that. And so you get on these search engines, and these people like this banker, they are approved. They're approved remodeling contractors with them. They passed a background check, which isn't much. They passed a background check, and they paid their money, and they paid $150, $200 for your lead, and now they're talking to you. So you just need to make sure that what we spoke of today, some of this information, just keep that in your back pocket. Just keep that as something which is a seasoning for you. When you're putting together this meal, which is your remodeling project, and you're trying to find the right people, just keep that little bit of information in just in the back of your mind, because it'll help you put some perspective on what you're being told. I really appreciate your time, and I hope this was a benefit to you. And sometimes I get a little dark, and I apologize. It's not because I'm negative or anything like that. It just really concerns me when I see people who represent themselves as a professional and as knowing everything, and just talking to them for 5 minutes, I know they don't know anything. And, their ego is so involved with it that, it's just, I want you to avoid those people. And you're smart. You know what you're doing. You got common sense, and that's all you need, and that will guide you through this business. Anyway, I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you next time.